can't even pay your own rent, Christy. What have you done with your life?" Dad's voice cut through the laughter like a knife. Mom joined in, smirking. "You're almost 30, and still living like a child. Maybe if you'd married someone successful, we wouldn't be embarrassed at family dinners. If your own family ever mocked you, stay till the end. This one's going to hit deep. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe." The room went quiet for a moment. Then my brother Nate laughed loud enough for everyone to hear. "Come on, Mom, she's just figuring things out. Maybe she'll be useful by 40. His wife, Emma, giggled, pretending to hide behind her wineglass. My fingers trembled under the table, but I kept smiling, because none of them knew what was coming. They thought I was broke, desperate, jobless. Just the quiet daughter who never lived up to expectations. I let them believe that. For 2 years, I'd been building something no one in this room could even dream of. While they mocked my small online projects, I was silently signing 6-figure contracts and owning something that could change all their lives. But tonight wasn't about money. It was about truth. The way my father leaned back, arms crossed, watching me like a failure. It burned in my chest. "You've always been the disappointment," he said softly. "Your brother took risks. You just played safe and stayed poor." I looked up, meeting his cold eyes. My voice didn't shake. "Are you sure about that?" The table fell silent. Nate scoffed. "Oh, please, Christy. What do you even do all day? You post motivational quotes on the internet and call it work?" I smiled. A slow, quiet smile that made him pause. "Funny thing about success," I said. "It doesn't always announce itself loudly." Mom frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" I leaned back, letting my words hang heavy in the air. "It means the one you called useless. Might just be the reason this family still has a house to sit in tonight." Their laughter died instantly. Forks froze midair, and for the first time, they looked at me. Really looked at me. Like they were realizing they didn't know who I'd become. The silence stretched. Then Dad's voice dropped, suspicious. "What do you mean by that, Christy?" I took a deep breath and met his gaze. "Let's just say, that loan you took last year, you might want to know who signed the final approval." The color drained from his face, and that's when the truth started to crack through their perfect little world. Dad's hand froze around his glass. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his tone suddenly sharp. Mom's smile faltered, and even Nate stopped smirking. For the first time, I had their full attention, and it felt powerful. "I'm saying," I said slowly, "the bank didn't approve your loan because of your credit. They approved it because someone vouched for you, someone with enough business revenue and influence to guarantee it." I paused, watching confusion twist across his face. That someone was me. Nate laughed nervously. "You? Christy, you don't even have a real job." "Yeah," I said, leaning forward. "That's what you've always believed, right? That my online business was just a hobby. That my late nights meant nothing. You thought I was wasting my life while you built your real career." He rolled his eyes. "Stop pretending you're some secret millionaire," I chuckled softly. "Pretending? You really think a hobby pays for 2 offices in downtown Seattle?" The room fell silent again. Mom blinked fast, trying to process what she just heard. "You're lying," she whispered. "You don't even have a car." "That's because I don't need one," I said calmly. "I own 3 company vehicles, and a delivery fleet." Dad's jaw tightened. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "What are you trying to prove?" I looked straight at him. "Nothing. You all spent years calling me lazy, useless, and dumb. I stayed quiet because I didn't need your validation. But tonight, I'm tired of being silent." Nate leaned forward, his voice low. "If you're so successful, where's the proof?" I smiled. "Funny you should ask." I reached into my purse and placed a set of silver keys on the table. Everyone stared. "That's for the new house." "The one I just bought?" Mom blinked. "A house?" "Correction," I said, tilting my head. "A mansion. 5 bedrooms, lake view, paid in full." The color drained from her face as she looked at Dad, searching for words. But I wasn't done. "Remember when you said no one in this family would ever rely on me? Turns out you already have." Nate's tone turned defensive. "You expect us to believe this? You're lying just to embarrass us." I leaned in closer, my voice calm but cutting. "You embarrassed me for years. Publicly, constantly. But the funny thing about underdogs... I paused, letting the moment stretch. We always rise, right when you least expect it. Dad clenched his fists. You're bluffing. Am I? I whispered. Check the name on your mortgage. His face went pale. Mom gasped quietly, covering her mouth as he pulled out his phone, scrolling with shaky hands. The silence grew thick, then his eyes widened. He looked up at me. Shock, confusion, and something close to fear in his eyes. And before he could speak, I said softly, You wanted to call me useless? Let's talk about who really owns this house now. Dad's hand trembled as he scrolled through his phone. Then he looked up at me, his face drained of color. Your name. It's on the deed, he stammered. Mom's fork clattered onto her plate. Nate's grin finally disappeared. Impossible, he whispered. How did you even get that kind of money? I smiled faintly. While you were busy mocking me for not having a real job, I was building something real. The app I started 2 years ago, it's now one of the top freelance platforms in the country. We just crossed 1 million users last month. Mom blinked, her voice shaking. 1 million? Yeah, I said quietly. And every time someone takes a job through it, I earn a cut, Nate scoffed, desperate to find footing. You're making this up, Christy. You've always been dramatic. I didn't answer. I simply pulled up my phone, opened my banking app, and slid it across the table. His jaw dropped when he saw the balance, a figure with more zeros than he'd ever seen in his own account. Dad's voice cracked. How could you keep this from us? I met his eyes calmly. Because when I had nothing, you all laughed. When I tried, you called it a joke. You only cared when you thought it benefited you. So I stopped explaining myself. The air in the room felt heavy. Mom whispered, We were just trying to push you to do better. By calling me useless? By comparing me to Nate every day? I asked. You didn't push me. You crushed me. But the funny thing is, the more you crushed, the stronger I became. Nate's wife, Emma, cleared her throat. Okay, but why rub it in now? If you're doing so well, why embarrass your family? I turned toward her slowly. Because this dinner wasn't about family. It was a show. Another chance to mock me in front of everyone. You called me here to feel superior. I came here to end that. Dad's eyes narrowed. And what? I leaned forward, my tone steady but cold. This game where you pretend to hold power. From today, everything changes. I'm not the weak one anymore. Nate crossed his arms. You think money makes you better than us? No, I said, standing up. But it makes me free from you. The table went dead silent. Only the ticking clock filled the room. I reached for my purse and started to walk away when Mom's voice cracked. Christy, wait. I turned, meeting her teary eyes. You said I was a burden, I said softly. Now you're sitting in my house, eating food bought with my money while calling me useless. She opened her mouth, but no words came. I gave her a faint, sad smile. Dinner's over. And just as I turned toward the door, Dad's voice shook behind me. Christy, wait. We need to talk. I paused, just for a second. Now you want to talk? I said quietly. Funny how that only happens when you realize who's really in control. I stepped outside into the cold night air, free for the first time in years. But what I didn't know was that this dinner wasn't the end. My family had one last card to play. I woke up the next morning to a flood of messages. My mom had called 10 times. Nate sent a text that read, "We need to meet. It's about the house." My stomach twisted. I knew that tone. Whenever they couldn't control me emotionally, they'd try legally. Sure enough, when I walked downstairs, there was a white envelope taped to my door, a legal notice. My name printed bold on top. I tore it open and my heart froze. It was a petition from my own family, claiming I'd fraudulently transferred ownership of the property. I laughed bitterly. So this is what family means to them now? Just then, my phone rang. It was Dad. "Christy, we didn't want to do this," he said in a fake, calm voice. "But you tricked us. You're trying to humiliate your own blood." "I didn't trick anyone," I said coldly. "You just can't stand that I succeeded without you." "Then prove it," he snapped. "Court's in 2 days. Bring your evidence." The line went dead. My hands shook, but not from fear or from disbelief. My own family was dragging me to court for the house I bought. The house they'd laughed about last night. For the next 2 days, I didn't sleep. I gathered every document, every tax record, wire transfer, contract. My lawyer Mason kept saying, "Christy, they have no case. They're bluffing." But deep down, I knew my family. They'd lie, twist, and manipulate if it meant keeping their pride. The day of the hearing arrived. As I entered the courtroom, I saw them, my parents sitting together, Nate beside them, smug as ever. He leaned back and whispered something to Dad that made them both laugh. I took my seat, holding my composure. Mason leaned over. "When it's our turn, don't speak until I tell you. Let them bury themselves first." The judge entered, and the hearing began. Nate's lawyer stood up dramatically. "Your Honor, this woman deceived her elderly parents, manipulated their trust, and transferred property illegally." My mom lowered her head, pretending to cry. My dad dabbed fake tears with a tissue. It was a full performance. The judge turned to me. "Miss Christie, how do you plead?" "Not guilty," I said firmly. My voice didn't shake this time. They presented their so-called evidence, printouts, fake texts, even an edited email thread. I felt sick watching it, but Mason whispered, "Let them finish. They're about to make our job easy." Finally, it was our turn. Mason stood up slowly, walked to the front, and said calmly, "Your Honor, my client owns the house legitimately, and we can prove it in 10 seconds. The courtroom went silent. My family's smug expressions began to fade. Mason pulled out a thin folder, opened it, and revealed a document with the judge's seal. "This," he said, "is the official purchase deed. Full payment made by wire from her verified business account." He turned toward my father. "Mr. Thompson, would you like to explain why you signed this acknowledgement letter thanking your daughter for saving your mortgage?" Dad's face turned pale. The judge's eyes narrowed. "Mr. Thompson, did you sign this document?" Dad stuttered. I don't recall." "Would you like the video proof?" Mason interrupted, smiling faintly. The entire courtroom gasped. Dad's face went blank as Mason played the short clip. Dad shaking my hand, thanking me for saving their home. The judge looked furious. "So you lied under oath?" Mom whispered, "Richard, say something." But he just froze. Nate slammed his hand on the table. "This doesn't prove anything." Mason smiled. "Oh, it proves everything. And here's the best part. Your brother's company emails show he tried to forge the ownership transfer last night." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Nate's face turned red. "You can't prove that." Mason tapped the file. "Already did. The timestamps match the fake document you submitted." The judge banged the gavel. "Case dismissed. Property legally belongs to Miss Christie, and I strongly suggest the rest of you leave her alone." I exhaled slowly as the room spun with whispers. My parents avoided my eyes. Nate stormed out, muttering curses under his breath. Outside, sunlight hit my face like freedom. Mason turned to me. "You handled that like a pro." I smiled faintly. "No, I just finally stopped letting them control the narrative." As I walked away, my phone buzzed again. A text from Dad. "We just wanted you to come home." I stared at it for a moment, then deleted it without replying. Some homes aren't worth returning to, because that night at dinner they called me useless. But today, the world saw exactly who was in control.